child in time, you'll see the line that's drawn between the good and bad. See the blind man shooting at the world, bullets flying, oh, taking toll. If you feel bad, oh Lord, I'll bet you have, and you're not been hit, oh, by flying there. You better close your eyes. Oh, bow your head. Wait for the ricochet.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, fellow decoders around the world, wherever you may be, male and female, welcome. My name is Logan. I'm going to be your tour guide for this presentation of Children of God Decoded. I almost said Child in Time. That song that was playing in the background was a cover by the band Deep Purple off their 1970, all the way back to the 1970s. They are still playing. They just actually came out with a new album. Unbelievable. The guys are in their 70s and they're playing. I was like thinking of my dad, and my dad's in his 70s sitting there playing the drums, singing. It's crazy. But that band, Deep Purple, amazing band, Child in Time, which is exactly what we all are. We are children of time. You are living in time. I personally, myself, when people say, oh, time is just an illusion, I just don't buy into that. I just don't buy into that because I look at my watch and I see time. I see it moving. I see the digits on the clock move. And that to me, right then and there, tell me that time is real. This is why we say, hey, I'll meet you at such and such a time. I have to clock in the work at such and such a time. Time exists because the clock exists. And we're all moving through time. And so as we move through time, we age. We go from, hang on one sec, folks, I got someone. We go from a child to a senior citizen and to death. We eventually face death. This is something that I'm not a fan of. I'm a fan of life, but I'm not a fan of death, which is one of the reasons why, I've never had children, because I wouldn't want to have my child watch me die, maybe wipe my ass because I can't do it anymore. I wouldn't want to do that. I wouldn't want to have my child to go through that. Although some of you that are parents are going to say that it's worth it. I get that because you have children. So for this incarnation for myself, I didn't have kids. I love kids though. And if you ever see me at a party, I'm usually hanging out with kids, giving horseback rides. I love I gravitate towards children. And so this presentation is on all of us, not just the child, not just the children that you may have. It is all of us. So I made this room that you're looking at here in the background kind of like a picturesque vision of paradise, of what it would look like from the visions of a child if you ask the child to describe their perfect environment. Kids have the best imagination because they are less tainted, they have less obstructions, they have less experience, and that is what really makes us decay through time, is the experiences that we have in life. So I'm going to show you some things through this presentation on how the words move into physicality. I'm going to be using some theology, some methodologies, of course, I'm going to show you all the methodologies that I'm going to be working with for this presentation. And I'm gonna break this down like you've never seen before, I promise you. And I'm gonna show you how all the stories fit into the context of how our reality works through children of God. And that's what we all are. And, one of the layers of God is time. I have a decode coming out on time is God. And this is why Saturn, known as Father Time, is portrayed as eating its children, because that's what time does. Because one day, you and I will die. And you're racing against the clock, as they say. And that is the thing that I'm not a fan of, is death. Although I'm not afraid of it anymore, I'm just not a fan of it. The suffering, what you have to go through, the mourning that you have to go through. I'm not a fan of that. I don't get that part of life. I really haven't figured that part out. But nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen, welcome out. Thanks everybody for joining in. I appreciate all of you coming in here on this, wherever you're at in the world. What is today? Is today Friday or today Thursday? Today's Thursday. So today's Thursday here in Mexico, broadcasting right just south of Cancun, Mexico on Central Standard Time. It is Thursday, and Thursday is ruled by Jupiter. And Jupiter has the biggest spot on the world stage in the canopy. Jupiter is the biggest planet, and Jupiter's position in the layer of astrology has a job to do, and the job of Jupiter, well, a main job, is to defend the church, spirituality, and also pump out players on the world stage. That's what it looks like here. Jupiter being, in the house of Sagittarius. Sagittarius being the 9th zodiac sign. And 9 in Greek, the Greek word diabolos, which is where the word devil comes from, leads to the number 9. Diabolos being 27 in Greek numerology. The words church equal 27. Not an accident, of course, because this is how life operates, not by the final product, but by the letters, numbers, and symbols behind the final product that we call life, right? So there are many layers to it. So I'm going to show all of you some before we get into the presentation, I want to show all of you some of the aspects of the tarot and what it looks like for children. Now, I'm going to be referencing astrology here. In astrology, normally the 5th and 6th houses, these houses are going to be linked to children, right? It doesn't mean that if you have nothing in the 5th or 6th house, or you have something in the 5th and 6th house, you will not have children. There's a lot of layers that come into play here on whether or not you're going to have kids. But I want to show all of you the 5th house is your identification, right? 5 fingers, 5 toes, 5 senses. It's the house of creativity, manifestation, sex, your mojo, how you're driven in life, your mojo. 5 is your identification. The word ID, can I see your ID, please? That's going to give you the number 5 in numerology. 5 is the pentagram, the 2 arms, 2 legs in your head. That's 5. So this has a lot to do with children, because it has everything to do with sex. You can't have a kid without having sex for the most part. I mean, there are probably other ways that it can be done, but we're not going to get into those. I'm talking about the natural, organic way of pumping out a kid, all right? So let's go into the 5s and show you what it looks like through the tarot. Now, the 5 gets a dirty rap in the tarot, really, because that's what kind of screws things up, right? 5, of course, is tied to the throat chakra, right? The 5. But it's also tied to the sacral. If you flip the colors of the rainbow, red's at the top, you'd go all the way down. Blue would be down at the bottom with the indigo and the indigo child. And you're going to see that during this presentation. So if you're into the indigo child stuff, you're going to see that prevalent in this presentation on Children of God. But in the 5th house of astrology, which is, again, sex, your mojo, screwing, humping, procreating, your drive, your desires in life, well, in the major arcana of the tarot, and remember, the house of Leo is 5. Leo is ruled by the sun. So the sun is what rather runs this reality, the brightness of the sun, and the sun is light into matter. Light slowed down into physical matter, and now we have a child of time. We have you and I. In the major arcana, it's the Hierophant. This is the card number 5. And the Rider-Waite deck, which is the oldest tarot that I know of, they decided to put the Pope on the card. Now, these cards are heavily influenced by Jewish mysticism, so you're going to see some Torah stuff in here. But this is the Pope. And this is the guy they chose to represent the sun in physical form. And this now becomes a child of time. So the Pope is a child of time. Somebody birthed that Pope. There's a mother and father that birthed the current Pope on the world stage right now. And this is the card number 5. And this is the guru. So essentially, you're the guru, and then your children that you pop out, if you have them, they can become gurus. Well, they are a guru, but some of them are not as hefty as other ones in this reality. So you get the Hierophant and the commander with the identifications. This is the commander of the 5. And this guy's supposed to control over 1 billion people. I say throw him out of the bathwater. You don't need him anymore. The church, forget it. You saw that quote by Frank Zappa. The best thing you can do is don't bring your kids to church. If there was no such thing as the church and you had to raise your children and teach them the ethics and morals without the benefit of the church, without the aspect of the church, how would your kids be? Would they be just running around like crazy knuckleheads and little devils running around and causing great havoc? Well, maybe some of them, just like some of them are now. But even if you're somebody who's you would consider yourself a good person, if you remove the church from your life, that doesn't mean you would say, well, I'm just gonna become a really bad person. No, you're still gonna be the same ethics and moral kind of person. You don't need that. So, and what does the church do? It institutes, it brings in the devil. It brings in the adversary, and now all of a sudden you have division. So if you get rid of the church, you remove the division in a big way. So anyway, there's the 5. And then the 5 of, this is in no particular order, but the 5, I'm going to start with the 5 of Pentacles. This card right here, which is card number 68 or 69, representing the yin yang. And this card right here, you see, there's the division right there. On the front of the card are 2 people. One of them is kind of a woman in torn clothing, like a bag woman, and then you have somebody on crutches. And it means hard times. They're out in the snow, it's cold, but behind them is your salvation. See, if this card right here represents your ego. So these people have lost their way. What this card's saying, they've lost their children of time. They're walking through time, and they've lost their way because now they don't have balance in their life. They are too heavy of the ego. So this card, obviously the people on there, they've lost their way in a sense. Now, it can mean so many other things, but these are children of time. And behind them is the 5 of Pentacles, which represents the salvation. Like, hey, just come into the church and we'll save you. Well, not really, because now you want me to play for your team. Anyway, that's for a different story. So that's the 5 of Pentacles. And again, this is all tied to the child. The child's going to be number 6. I'm going to get into that in a minute. But what creates the child is love and lust, which lust is just desire. That's all it is. Lust is desire. And lust can be, I lust after a business. I wanted a brand new car. That's lust, right? So the 5 of Cups, the 5 of Hearts, this is a card of where you mourn the death of something. Could be the death of a child. If you've had the death of a child, you've been in this situation, you've been this figure right here, and you're looking in front of you, and there's your child that's passed away. Behind you is life that's waiting for you to turn around and move on. You have no choice. Some people actually don't. They end up living like this the entire time, and they never turn around. And those cups, if they could talk to you, they'd be like, hey, life's got to go on. And we can philosophically bring a discussion about why deaths happen. I have a lot of people that email me, hey, my child passed away. Why did it happen to me? I don't know why it happened. I can't tell you why it happened, but I can tell you that everything is scripted. Now, you don't have to agree with me on that, but I have over 500 videos that say that's the case, that you live in a predestined, scripted reality, and you don't have the choices that you think you have. That's for a different story. But anyway, that's the 5 of Cups. Then the 5, and again, the 5's which gets you into trouble. See, once you pop a kid out, and again, I'm just coming from a perspective of, I know you're going to say, well, Logan, you don't have kids. I know, so I get to look at it from a perspective of, I don't have children, responsibility, I don't have that. So I get to look at it from the perspective of a neutral standpoint, and I get to look at it and I say, so if I pop a child out, now I'm responsible for that child in time. And you see, those of you that are parents, you will do whatever it takes for your child if you're a good parent. If your child gets hurt at school and that you get a phone call and your child's at the hospital, you're racing to the hospital, breaking the speed limit. You'll justify that though. And that's stupid, simple stuff. But I'm saying you'll do whatever it takes to rescue your child. That means you're a slave to that child. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I just want to point out to you that's exactly what that means. You will be a slave to the child because the child will depend on you. Even sometimes when they get to be really older, some parents are still, a slave to their children in a big way. But nonetheless, I'm just having fun with this. Don't, shoot the messenger here. The 5 of Swords. The 5 of Swords here. He's got a he's got a see-through dress on there. The 5 of Swords is saying, I don't want to do it anymore. This is one of the cards of saying, I don't want to play anymore. The 5 of Swords represents your spirituality. I don't want to play anymore. I don't want to have kids. I don't want to leave a seed behind. I don't want to be responsible for that. And it's so many other things. The 5 of Swords, which is the 5 of Spades. And then you have the 5 of Wands, which kind of starts the tarot off here. And you have division. This is the card of the church, by the way. This is the 27th card in the tarot. The word church is 27. I'm sorry, the word religion is 27. Excuse me. Church is 24. But there you go. And this is what it's all about. To have a child is you're going to have a lot of this happening in your life. There is no easy street to having a child. Right? And that's the sacrifice that you'll make as a parent. And I get it. Those of you that are parents, you say it's worth it. I'm not going to debate that. I totally get it. But this is what will happen to get there. It's not going to be easy street. right? And then when you grow up to be an adult and you have to start using your identification for other things, this is what you're faced with. That's why this card means fighting and division, and it can mean friendly battles and friendly debating and all that kind of stuff. But the 5 is your identification. So again, 5 is the house of Leo. It's ruled by the sun, and it's all about your sex and your mojo, and whether or not you're going to pump a kid out. And many factors are coming to play besides that. Especially those of you that have heavy Cancerian energy, and you're going to see that because Cancer is the mother, and the mother is Earth, and Earth is tied to pumping out. A lot of the layers of the esoteric say that the moon which rules Cancer, is the portal to get in here, tied to the cow bladder, and that is the mother, the moon, which may just be a reflection of Earth in a lot of ways. So then we get into the house number 6, and now you get into family, right? You get into family, which in the major arcana, you're going to get the Lover's card. And maybe you get married, and you have a child, and now you have the family. This is the trifecta. The lovers, the Adam and Eve, the lovers, 6. 6 is the cosmic father, cosmic mother. In Judeo-Christianity, day number 6 is the last day of creation. In mathematics, day number 6 is the first perfect number. In alchemy or science, carbon is the 6th element, which is the 666 element. So when you pump a kid out, guess what? We all become the devil's child because that's the 666. It's really just that simple, right? But we strive to be good people if you do that. So that's the starting point of the 6 with the child. After you use your identification, you use your mojo, your sex to procreate. And then when you get into the minor arcana, I'm missing one of them actually. You have the 6 of Cups, which this is card number 42/41. And 42 is life, the universe, everything, by Douglas Noel Adams. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. What's the answer to life? 42. This is the 42nd card. It's nostalgia. It's children. Children is what keeps this reality going. Without anybody giving birth to this, there's no more reality. See, this reality needs players. It needs people. Spirit needs to enter into people. It can't do that unless there's a child that gets born. So this is why sex has, have the orgasm, one of the best feelings in the world. That's the payoff that you get. That's what people have. My sex drive, and I get all that. That's what is involved in having a child. So you have the nostalgia and the 6 of Cups, and then you have the 6 of Swords, which is moving over to calmer waters. Again, this represents spirituality. This right here is tied to Genesis 1 verses 2, where it talks about the Spirit of God moving over the water. The Spirit of God. And then you get into Genesis 6 verses 3, where God says, my spirit shall not reside in man forever. And again, you don't have to believe in religion, folks. It's part of the story. Everything in what the research shows, everything in this reality is a Ponzi scheme. It's everything. White magic, black magic, it's all owned by the same boss. All of it. That's what the research shows. But why do we fight about it? Because the ego wants to be right. You're 5, your guru, this right here. This doesn't want to be wrong. You want to be right in everything you do. And you don't want to look bad. Therefore, you don't want to say, oh, yeah, I'm wrong. No, you got it all figured out. I get all that. That's what this reality feeds off of, is division. Because with division, which is drama, which has the word ra in it, ma meaning mother, drama, Ra, the mother, giving birth to, what is a soap opera? Drama. That needs children to do that. Not little kids, but kids grow up and they end up becoming this and that, and you're being watched, and we're in a big soap opera. And then you have the 6 of Pentacles, right? This is one of the cards of the mother. This is one of the cards of the game master. This card right here being card 70/71 or 69/70. And you see that character in the red? That would be you as a parent. And those people on the ground would be your kids. Your kids are asking for the handouts. They want this, they want that. And you got to teach them ethics and morals. 6 is the cosmic mother, cosmic father. The number 6, when you make it, it's a pregnant woman. That's why the last day of creation is day 6. It's a pregnant woman. It means legacy and masterpiece, which are tied to children, which are tied to family. So it's your legacy and masterpiece. And the house number 6 is occupied by Virgo, which just so happens to be the largest constellation in the night sky. The biggest, the widest span is Virgo, the Virgin. And the story of the Christ is there because right across the way from Virgo is Pisces, the fish, which Jesus was a fisher of men. So right then and there you have 12 and 6 and the birthing of the Christ, the Virgin and Pisces, the fish. And that's why the birthing of Christ seemingly was in the age of Pisces. But of course, remember, Jesus says, I'm not part of this age, I'm not part of this world. You're going to follow me into the house with a man bearing a pitcher of water. That's Aquarius, because it's preparing to move into the house of Aquarius, because this reality is not going to end. It's going to change in a big way, in a very, very big way. So those are the 6s. I think I was missing, what was I missing? Sword, cup, diamond. Yeah, I was missing the wand, the 6 of wands. That's the messenger. The messenger. And then this right here, this card right here represents the child. The word child in numerology is 6. The word Gaia in the original Greek numerology is 6. How about that? Gaia is 6. The Virgin, Virgo, 6. 6 is carbon, the devil. See how all this stuff ties together? And now you have all this drama. The Ra and the Ma, the mother. Drama. You need drama to continue to have energy in this reality. And it needs players, and that's why sex is such a big thing it's marketed all over the place. And this is why you go into just being a human being and sex and orgasms and all that kind of stuff. And, so anyway, so those are the layers that we're going to be talking about for this presentation. I'm going to show you a lot more than that, but that's the beginning point of this. So you want to look to your, you want to look to your 5th and 6th houses and see how your mojo, how your sex operates, how your testosterone operates, and then you want to look at your 6th house, and then you want to look at Virgo and Leo and where those are at. Are there any celestials there? And then you got to look at the lords of those houses, and you got to backtrack. And it's very complicated, but it's very easy when you get all the tools. But this is all about the children of time. And again, that's why theology has its say in all of this, because it is piggybacked off of the originality of the numbers which rule over the final product, which we would call theology. Theology is the final product. Behind the final product are letters, numbers, and symbols. Okay? Letters, numbers, and symbols. So, let's get my chat out here. Hey, let me pop this out. I'm going to go through a few questions, and then I'm going to... get into the presentation. I do both tropic and sidereal. I find sidereal to me is the root, and tropical will be your inevitability. Tropical to me doesn't line up exactly with the night sky. It's the inevitability of the charts. So it would represent the crown, where you're moving towards. The root is sidereal, and tropical is the crown, what your inevitability is. Okay. Someone says the Satan the past, the Christ the present, the Lucifer the future. Yeah, that's a kind of a cool way to look at it. It's kind of a cool way to look at it. Satan being the past, which represent your traumas, right? And that if you think about the past of your life, there are many of you that and I guess I'll take that back. We all live through some perspectives of our past when it's dead, but of course that's the devil, because it's all of your traumas and your hardships, and that can be part of the devil in that aspect. Okay. All right, so let's jump into this presentation. Let me get my cursor out and let's jump into this presentation. So first and foremost, I want to give a big shout out to all you Patreon members. If you do want to go over and become a member, you don't have to actually sign up to become a member. This is in Mexican pesos. I do put out free content, but the majority of my content is going to be put out on Patreon only. The YouTube channel's kind of slowly being moved into the Patreon. So if you want all the big good content, you'd have to come on here and join in. And I'm very active on here. So thanks. Big shout out to all of you members on Patreon for your support. Okay. So we're going to get into this presentation, which you all have come here to look at. I thought AI did a phenomenal job on this right here. It's all in the keywords with these graphics, but the children of God. And really it's about, and I have this decode coming out, it's children of time. Okay. God is, we're children of time. That's what God is, time. Okay. So I got this one coming out, but it is definitely part of this presentation. So let's jump into the methodologies for this presentation and what I'm going to be using during the course of this time we spend together. And this isn't really in no particular order. Let me just make this full. I'm going to be bringing in mathematics. So these are my methodologies and what I'm going to synchronize. And really, decoding is not difficult. All you have to do is connect the dots. 13 to 13, 4 to 4, 5 to 5. It's really easy. So mathematics, which are a big part of this reality, the golden ratio and the measurements of pi. I've been particularly using the 3.144 pi. There are two pi's, 3.141, 3.144. Both of them have value. Both of them are tools. I'm also going to be bringing into this presentation alchemy, the periodic table. How big this is to decode from is just phenomenal. And we have the mighty Ra here, which many of the organizations on the world stage, that's what they pledge to. Remember the word drama, it's got the word Ra in it. We're going to be using numerology. A big part of this decode will be Greek, the Greek language, which I'm super fan of because of its heritage, how far back it likely goes. If you're a fan of theology, the New Testament seemingly was written from the Greek scriptures, but of course that's Greek and Roman. You can see the word child is the number 15. This is the Greek reduced all the way down to single digits. This will go all the way down to the number 6. We're going to be bringing in the playing cards, the cards of illumination, as I like to call them. And these, of course, pave the way. These came first before the tarot. The tarot came out in the early 1900s. These go all the way back from the research I found, 14th, 15th century. So these are much older than the tarot giving us the picture, which is beautiful because it gives us value of we think in pictures. I'm also going to be bringing nature into this, right? The aspects of nature I'm going to be talking about for this presentation. And I'm also going to be bringing in another deck favorite of mine, the 52 cards of the Native American medicine deck. And if you haven't done your totem pole yet, it's once in a lifetime opportunity to do it. I would highly suggest you do that. And then last, but certainly not least, I'm going to be bringing in astrology, which is theology. Theology is astrology because the heavens are the as above and earth is the so below. Astrology, theology. So there you have it. There are the methodologies. These are all the things I'm going to be doing to synchronize this presentation. So let's begin. Now I'm going to first start off by decoding the words children of God, and I'm using the Greek because the Greek is older than the English and the Latin. And I got this from theology, which is where I started with this whole decode. And you can see that it is a total of using the full numbers, the full digits now. These aren't reduced down, so this is going to be pi. This is going to be the archaic Greek, meaning the oldest, the antiquity of it. Pi ends up moving into digit number 16 for the modernized version of pi. So it will change that. But this is going to give us the 152. And the 152, we bring that and synchronize it with alchemy, and just like that, we have the God element. It's gadolinium. This is one of its isotopes, meaning that when you measure it in the laboratory, this is one of the outcomes that you will get. 152. This is why the number 64 is so relevant in our reality and how it's tied to being children of God, because there are 64 squares on a very popular game called chess. There are 64 possible codons in our DNA. That's why black and white, if you see it, when you see the Masonic checkerboard, I hope you've gotten past the point of thinking it's evil, because it is the farthest away from being evil. Once you know what you're looking at. Right here, I have the white and the black. The shadow of the white. All of you create a shadow when you go out in the sun. So there you have it, the 152, children of God. And the icon that the Royal Society of Chemistry chose to use was a television set. And the very reason why is because gadolinium was used for television screens back in the day. So you have an element that was used to produce something that's called Pandora's box in our So Below. But you see, we're on television. And I think The Truman Show did a great job of that, as has many other movies as well. But let's keep going. Let's get into the actual topics. I was kind of the intro, and I'm going to get into the topics now. I have just 2 topics, but I have 72 more slides to go. So this is going to be quite lengthy of a presentation. So number 1, we're going to be talking about Father-Son. This is where I got started doing this decode, was the Father and Son. This is why you see God being portrayed as the Father and the Son being first. Not the Son. I'm talking about the physical Son. This is why you have Adam first and then Eve being created after Adam. But really, who's the mother? Earth. So the Father wants to create children. It has to mate with the earth. This is why you're going to get Uranus, which is heaven, mating with Gaia, which is earth. So the second topic will be the father, mother, child. I'm going to get into the mother. So you mothers out there, stay tuned, because your role is tremendous. I mean, I'm a dude and I can't pump a kid out. So, I'm useless in that sense. My role is not as big as a woman when it comes to these particulars. So I value the feminine aspects in a big way. I'm a fan of life. I'm just not a fan of death. So let's get into the first topic now, Father-Son. Again, this is where I started with this presentation. So it's really not in a particular order. But this is where I started here. I really got started here, folks. See, I was looking up Father-Son. And this was one of the scriptures that popped out. Matthew 11, verses 27. And this was all about the Father and the Son. It doesn't say father, daughter, and that doesn't belittle you women. All right? I want you to think chicken of egg. What comes first, the chicken or the egg? What comes first, the male or female? Or were we created at the same exact time? Well, no one's going to know. No one knows. But through the context of the story, it's father, son, then Eve, and the woman. Right? It doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that the male is better than the female. I just want to make that very clear. So the Father in Greek, because this is where this scripture came from, the Greek. So instead of using English, I want to use Greek. And this is the reduced version of the Greek, the single digits, Father being 19 and the Son being 17. And now I want to get a picture of that. So I go to the tarot. And voila. Just like that. That's why when you see somebody say, oh, the tarot cards are satanic. Well, how satanic are they when I can take the book of the Bible and I can convert it right to the tarot? It's the same thing, folks. These are tools to use to represent our reality and to describe them in great detail. Father being 19, which is the Son. Does it stop there? No. But the Father being tied to the Son, and the Son becomes the star, and this is where you become part of the... Now, if you get into theology and you get into the New Testament, Jesus says, your father's the devil. And so then you have to branch off and figure out what that means. Diabolos. That's what came from a Greek word as well. But there's the 17, and the word actor is 17. So we become all the stars down here in this reality, playing out on the board, right? And you're the star of the show. Some people don't act like stars. They act like extras running around because they're too busy and focused on making moves after something else makes their move. Reaction instead of action. But there's the beginning point of this. The sun and the star. How beautiful this is. Of course, in the middle is the moon, and the moon is the mother. So the sun is the bride. The moon is, I'm sorry, the sun is the groom, the moon is the bride, and the son or daughter is the star. And we're born as stars of this reality. And we are actors, born into the matrix, which is life. The word story equals 17. Look how amazing this is. Now, I'm using Chaldean numerology. I don't really like to mix and match. But of course, at this stage of the game, I have so many of them memorized, it becomes very easy for me. So there you go. 17. So the 17 is the seventh prime number, which is the 7 chakras. So now what I want to do is I want to reduce the word father down. And how we're going to get the child of God, the children of God, we have the number 1. So God the Father is the 1. The number 1. The I. I am that I am. The I. The burning bush, fire, sun. See how all this plays out? And then we convert that into the magician card. And you can see the magician, the background is heavily favored in yellow, which represents the sun. And the magician's calling for the sun's energy. Like, bring this down to earth. And it's got the 8 over its head, 19 being the 8th prime number. The 8 is the infinity symbol in mathematics. And then you get the sun being the number 8. And now you get the strength card. Now, this card is very interesting. It also has a yellow background. This is the card of Scorpio. This is a Scorpio card. This is Aries. This is Scorpio. The word enter is 21. The house of Scorpio is 21. This is where the world card sits as well. The world card and the strength card are tied right together with each other. And this card also having the 8 over the head of this woman. And she's taming this lion. This card right here simply means controlling your animal instincts. How? That's because Scorpio is known as the house of sex, but it's also tied to power. This is where the occult comes from, where you can learn the secrets of life. But it means, are you able to control your mojo? Are you able to control your animalistic endeavors? Like when you get that urge to go hump somebody, can you control it? Or do you just cave and give in? That's what this card means. Remember, this is our origin. And 8 is the infinity symbol, which is the prison. That seemingly is what we're stuck in. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. But the 8 is tied to the infinity symbol. So now we're going to bring in alchemy in this. Again, simply just connecting the dots. So father reduces down to the 1. The father gets hydrogen. And hydrogen is huge with the sun because the majority of the sun that they say is made up of hydrogen and helium. And you have the H, which, those words called the house. The house always wins. The house. And then you get oxygen. The O, the portal to get in here. It's come through the portal. And now you get this 8 and 16. The word hell is 16. The word light is 16. The word snake is 16. Okay? Can be all tied to us, being deceived or deceiving people, et cetera, et cetera. So when you look at these elements, they give you clues on how we got here. Hydrogen being the father comes from the Greek words hydro and genes. So your genes, and hydro is water. So it's water genes. Water genes. Water and oxygen. Slowed down to certain calculations forms physicality. Water and genes. Okay? Water and genes. And there are many other clues here as well. So many clues. Just you can go do the decodes. I'm not going to get into all the technicalities. And then you can see that the letter H in the English, A through Z, A is 1, B is 2, C is 3. H is the number 8. You go back up here and it's tied to the Father. Right? Tied to the Father. And you have these words that start the letter H. Heaven. House. The house always wins. I want to go home. I want to go to heaven. I want to go to heaven. Tied to the sun, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? The life giver. And then you get into the oxygen, tied to the sun. The child of God. And you can see that the O is the 15th letter in the English alphabet. And that's tied to the word sun when it reduces all the way down. Okay. The 15 and the child. I'm going to get into it because the word child is 15. But ladies and gentlemen, when you say these two elements right here, hydrogen, oxygen, you get 58. And this is tied directly to as above, so below. See how beautiful this is? Now, this is using Chaldean numerology, the oldest numerology cipher that I know of that exists on the world stage. It works not just in numbers, but also phonetics and the shape of the numbers. It's heavily tied to the Hebrew Aramaic language as well. So this is saying the as above, so below is hydrogen and oxygen. Oxygenes, water genes. And now you have air that you breathe and you become the star. Light slowed down into physical matter and you become the star of the show. You become a son and daughter of Earth, one of the titans, and we're going to get into that right there. So now what we do want to do is I want to break down the word one, since Father ends up reducing down to one. I want to say one through the Greek. Here it is, and it's 13. And then I'm going to do the Son, the number 8, octo, and that's 20. And so we have 13 and 20. Now I want to get a picture. 13 is death. So what does this mean here? Well, in order to become a physical person, you have to die a spiritual death. Light has to die in its existence to slow down to become a human being and to become a bag of bones. And that's what calcium comes in, because calcium is where 99% of our bones and teeth are coming from. Calcium. And you get this 20 being tied to the sun, calcium. And now in the tarot, you're going to get judgment. Of course, the judgment card to me just means graduation. Most people look at it, oh, we're going to get judged. Well, not really, because we live in a scripted reality that's already predestined. Your choices you make are already made for you. You just walk through door number 1, door number 2, door number 3. They're already made for you. That's what the research shows. Now, you don't have to agree, but that's what the research shows that I've found over 500 videos now. Judgment is this card should say graduation. That's what this card should. If I were to redo these cards, this would say graduation. Okay, graduation, judgment. And this is going to be sitting in the house of Libra. Libra is going to take the number 20 in calcium. Libra means you got to be balanced, which is neutrality. You want to graduate? Neutral. Knowing that good and bad are two sides of the same coin in this reality. That's what this black and white checkerboard floor should remind you every time you see it. It means neutrality. It means you're walking on both paths. Good cop, bad cop. And you will be a representative of both of those. Okay? So that's what this looks like. So we have aluminium for the 1. And this means a luminary body. And the luminary body that comes down from the sun, light, comes down and now forms a bag of bones. And now you become a player character on the world stage, with the possibility of graduation if it's written in your script, whatever that looks like. Okay. When you say aluminium and calcium, you get the number 52, which is a match to Prison Planet. See, so I have a series. I have 5 of these now. And people take it in a very, very interesting context. They read Prison Planet and they get angry. And it's not what you think it means. But I can tell you right now, you are in a prison. We are in a prison because you're not getting out, if we are able to get out, until you die. So essentially, that is a fact that you're in a prison. It's a fun one, though. I love life. I'm a fan of life. I enjoy life, and I'm grateful that I'm alive. How about you? So these are fun layers to look at. Okay. This also has an average weight of 26.9, and that's going to be right there. So it's going to be tied to the 13. The aluminium. You Can Call Me Al. You remember that song? You Can Call Me Al? It's big hits in that one. On that song there. Aluminium, the Al. The 1 and the 12. 112, which is going to give you 13, with the abbreviation of that. And then bringing the medicine cards into this. To give some flavor and fun to this, the father becomes the trickster. The coyote in this medicine card deck, when you read about it, and this animal can be very much a trickster. Okay? And then when you know that the sun is the devil, in the context of what it means, then you'll have deeper meaning to what all this kind of stuff means right here. And that's why 13 is not evil. It's actually one of the most powerful number combinations you can possibly get. The 1 and the 3. This is pi and phi, the golden ratio, and 3.14 and 1.61 together. Okay, very, very big. When you bring these together, you're going to get the number B, the letter B when you bring those together, which is the second letter, which represents duality. But then we bring in the child, which we all essentially are. And now you become a mouse. See, you know how many millions of mice are tested on every year for the benefit of you as a human being, but you don't pay any attention to it? Maybe you do, but most of you don't. Millions upon millions of mice are killed, tortured, all for the benefit of your livelihood. Okay? You just don't see it. And this is how this pulls into the context of being a human being. See, I believe, a lot of you believe we live in a simulation. Yeah, well, what does that mean? Well, you're being used for something else past the stage of your life. You're being experimented on. Life is an experiment. That's why all these things connect together, where duality equals 20, birthday equals 20. Even Jesuit and Mason are 20. That organization, they are not in control of this reality. I promise you. They are being used just like everybody else. So then we get into the number 19 and the 17, the Father and the Son, and we do it through the Greek again. And I forgot how to pronounce these words, and I'm not really that good yet with Greek. But these are the Greek, and this is the reduced aspect of it. This is 19, and this is 17. Father, Son, and you get a total of 125. Which, remember, there's the mirror of it. So the beginning of this was children of God, which was 152, which was tied to gadolinium, which is the GD element. And then this, 19 and 17, which is Father, Son, becomes a permutation of the 152. It's the 125. How about that? This is not an accident. This is how these things work when you are a decoder. So Father, Son ends up becoming the children of God. Okay? We're all children of God. And then you got to figure out what God means to you. Here's Theo, God being the number 50. And this 50 is very, very magical. Heavily tied to Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, but that's for a different story. How about this 125 also being tied to the astrological charts? I told you to be bringing in astrology into this. Here are all 12 zodiac signs. And you get a number permutation called 251. 251 in mathematics is a prime number, the 54th. And when you say 251, it is 54. 54 is tied to Xenon, which has a lightning bolt into it. Heavily tied to Zeus and Jupiter and the sun. See, the way this astrological map works and why it's so accurate in describing each and every one of your lives and your children as well is because these 12 zodiac signs, this is your eyeball, by the way, and the black sun sits in here, which accepts the light that is the light outside. But this right here, as the sun goes around its tour of the zodiacs, it plays with all of these along with the celestials, and the sun delivers the energy to the earth. From all these other players here. These are all archetypes. And then the celestials that own them, the Lord and Lordesses, they end up connecting and they end up moving through the sun, the light that comes down. As above, so below. See? Father, Son, as above, so below. Zodiac, astrology, Greek numerology, right? And then the oldest Chaldean numerology. And then alchemy. It's very, very simple. So you're on television, which I've done how many decodes now? I've done you're on television. I have so many scripted realities. I have The Greatest Show on Earth. All of these decodes showing that you're inside of a movie. It's drama, Ra and Ma, drama. And that's what you're being harvested for, to create something outside of this reality. And I have a lot more to say on that, maybe in something else. But you can see that this element right here, tellurium, also connects to the 125, the 152, the 251, going back here, the 251, the 125, children of God, the 19 and 17, children of God, the gadolinium, the GD element, 64 possible codons in our DNA, which is all being tied to the child. And then this element right here has a number permutation. One of its isotopes, one of its stable isotopes is the 125. And tellurium has a big fat earth right on it. And I'm not going to get into the stupid round flat earth crap. I don't get into that stuff. Not interested. Don't care. Doesn't matter. This is way more important than that. But this represents earth. Tellus is a Latin word for earth. See the 52? So this right here, children of God on the earth. That's why Gaia and Uranus and all these players on the world stage are tied to this. So essentially, the 19 and 17 in Greek, which comes from the Father and Son, they end up leading to telos, which is a Latin word for earth, and prison planet, which I already went over that, right? So now we bring in some mathematics to change it up a little bit, bringing in the golden ratio. And I want to mark and measure where that 125 is in the string of the golden ratio. And when you add all these digits up, I wish I would have given you guys the total amount of digits. I forgot to do that. But adding all these digits up of where that 125 is found, you get the golden ratio. How about that? You get the golden freaking ratio, which is tied to the prison planet, which is tied to the astrological map, which is tied to children of God in Greek, which is tied to gadolinium. It's a permutation of that. You see? Right there. The golden ratio. The golden ratio being tied to light slowed down and to fit light coming down. It's tied to the Great Pyramid of Giza in the north latitude, the 29 degrees north latitude. So when we do the 19 and 17 for the Father and the Son, we get the 125, which reduces down to the number 8. And again, see, this is the 8 right here. See the number 8 right here, folks? This is the DNA spiral. There's the number 8 right there. This is your two eyeballs. This is the fish bladder in the Piscean stuff. The fish bladder. It's all here. The boat, the eyeball, the all-seeing eye, it's all in this spiral. This is Jacob's ladder. Did a decode on that, and it's the infinity symbol. And it's tied to the sun. I had done a decode on my Masonic Flat Earth exclusively for Patreon members, and this was one of the graphics for it. And you see, this is what the sun does as it moves around the world. Whether it's flat, round, concave, don't give a shit on that. I do know that it moves as a sidewinder like a snake, and it goes up and down, and these two right here, folks, the sun, this is going to be right along the equator. This would be your equinoxes, your spring and fall equinox. So essentially, this is spring. This would go to summertime, when it's summer up here in the European countries and Vermont and New England, and summer when the sun's trajectory is along this line, and the winter would be down here for Australia and New Zealand and all that. Tropic of Cancer, Tropic of Capricorn. So when the sun's down here, it would be the wintertime up here. So the sun is now on this trajectory, and it gets colder up here. So you have spring, summer, and then it comes down to the fall equinox, and then the winter comes down here. So you literally have 5 points, and that forms the infinity symbol, which is the source, and it is the prison. Prison is 26. The sine wave, the sine and cosine wave, and this is what the 19 in the sun card and the value of the tarot is. This is the path and the trajectory of the sun, and the sun is the 19th card, which is the 8th prime number, and 8 is tied to the infinity and source, which is tied to the Father and the Son. Okay? The Son being the sons and daughters of earth. That's how simple this is. Now you have the eyes to see it. Okay? And I did this right here to give you really the bird's eye view of it, is that this graphic right here is a real photograph of images taken of the sun exactly at the same day of every month for the 12, this is actually going to be 13 months, on the horizon. And you can see it makes this sidewinder. This is going to be 26 calendar months, but it makes this is why the W is here, the M is here, the letter S is here, as in snake, serpent, and these are the paths and trajectories of the sun, and we're born out of this. Spring goes to summer. Summer goes to fall. Fall goes to winter. Winter goes back to spring. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the ego of the sun. The sun has an ego just like we do. It's right here, the 5 points representing the 4 seasons. And it makes this sidewinder, and it's the dragon wave. The great dragon got hurled down. It's all here, folks, and it's all tied to children of time. I did a huge decode. I have 3 of these called the Superstar, Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3. Here's the beautifulness of the sun. This is nature now. Undeniability. Nature, okay? Tied to children of time. Tied to children of time. So getting back to the Father and the Son. Father being 19, the sun being 17, when we say 19 and 17 in the Greek, we get 60 and 65. So now I can bring those, because I have the ability, there's 77/78 tarot cards, I can now bring the layers of tarot back into it. So what does the Father represent? The 60th card in the deck, which is the 10 of Swords. What does this represent? Well, its spirit has to die. If it wants to become a human being, it has to die. 10 of Swords. This is the 10 of Spades, which is card number 49. Down in a hole equals 49. The 49th card in the medicine deck is the fish. To become a fish, to become a human being, you must die a spiritual death in this context. And you become now a child. And this is card 65. 17 is going to give you 65. This is the 65th card in the deck. And the Ace of Pentacles represents the gift. This is what you're all offered. This is what we're all offered as human beings. The gift of life. This is also the Eucharist right there. The Eucharist right on that card. You bet your bottom dollar it is. That is the Eucharist. Okay? Right there. The Eucharist is right there on that card. I promise. And this right here is tied to the words son of the morning. Tied to the sun, tied to Lucifer. I'm going to get into that here in just a little bit. So you see, the church wants you to continue as a player. That's why they want you to do these rituals of take this means my body, continually doing this, Matthew 26 verses 26, drink this wine, drink my blood, all these rituals, because it will guarantee that you get reincarnated as a player on the world stage. Because you see, this gift, which I'm not debating the gift of life is the gift of life. But some of you don't want to be here anymore. I get that. Some of you are looking for the way out. You don't want to return. I get that. Well, a guarantee way to return is to go do these rituals. That's my final answer. Okay? Father and son, you want to continue to be a human being? Go follow the church. Go listen to what they got to say. That's what their job is anyway. All of the religions are the same, packaged differently. So let's look at the 60, and we're going to look at the 65. Again, 60 is the Father, and 65 is the Son, which would be all of us, the gift of life. 60 being the Father, neodymium, the one, neodymium, the one. Okay? Meaning new twin. The Greek words neos, dynamos. It has the melting point of the golden ratio. These are all clues. The boiling point being God. The word God is 374 in Chaldean numerology. Okay? 60. Feed the wolf is 60 in numerology. This is a big, big, big element. There's that 144. Okay? And then the 65 tied to the child is terbium. And terbium's big clue, there's the Eucharist. Now, it's a compact disc because terbium was used to make compact discs. But you see, this is Earth as well. This represents the child. How does a CD, if you're a fan of CDs and maybe you were somebody who burned CD, what do you need to burn a CD? Light. A light diode needs to burn on that CD and it spins around and around and you burn it onto the CD and now information gets written on that CD. And that's what this whole thing's all about. Light to write on the CD, which is Earth, which is the child, to become a player on the world stage. Okay? Terbium. These are all the clues on how this works. So, going back to the 19 and the 17, to give you another perspective of this, we have the Father and the Son through the cards of illumination. So the Father being 19, we connect to the 19th card in the cards of illumination. Typical deck of playing cards, the 6 of clubs is a 19 card, and it's the messenger. This is the card of the messenger. And a 6, remember, there are 6 days of creation tied to the Father, okay? And that converts into the 27th/28th card in the tarot, the 6 of Wands. This card means victory. Well, of course, what's going to be victorious? Not you and I, the Father, which is tied to the Son, the life giver, okay? And then you have the Son, being 17, which ties to the 4 of clubs, the 17th card in the deck, and that converts into the 25th/26th card in the tarot, which is the 4 of Wands. This card means happy home. So you have the victory of the happy home. This is the house always wins, right? The house always wins. The 4 means the builder, the 4 of clubs. What do you see here? The 6 and the 4, which is on this element right here called gadolinium. Remember how I showed that one? The gadolinium, I already showed that element right here. Not that one, right there. See? Children of God is 152, and 64 is the isotope, the protons. And then we have the 6 on that card and the 4 on that card. And you just bridge them together, and now you have the gadolinium, and the 251, and the 152, and the 125. The GD element, the God element, not by accident. These are all synchronized to tell you the story on how this reality works. And again, just a reminder, it's the earth, the 125, the 152, all from separate layers, but from the same perspective. Okay. And then we have you're on television. You're on television. That's the Truman Show tried to tell you that. You're on television. You're live in front of the whole world. Well, that's true. You're being watched. All right, so that was the first part. Now I'm going to get into the second part called the father, mother. This is where it gets super interesting. Now you females, you waited this long. Thank you so very much, because now we're going to bring some feminine aspects into this, which has such a huge role. The mother, which is earth. Earth is feminine. Earth is the black sun. Yes, because it doesn't give off any of its own light. It needs the father, the white light, to grow, to create photosynthesis. And even if there is some black cube or black sphere inside the earth, that's fine. We could bring that into it, but earth doesn't give off any of its own light. It needs the sun. Okay? So now we're going to bring in the father, the mother, and the child. Now we're going to get away from the sun, and we're going to just bring in the child to make this androgynous, right? In a sense, to make this male-female. So the father becomes 19, the mother is 22, and the child is 15. Okay? And the mother is the master builder. 22 is tied to being a master builder. That's what Mother Earth is. The master builder. That's what you women are, master builders. You can pump out a kid. That is a master builder in my book. I can't do that. I know you need the male to have the master builder go to work, but I can't do that. Males can't pump out a kid. So you mothers, you females, you're the master builders in the sense of building a child and pumping a child out and making something to come into existence. And now you have a seed on the world stage. Here are the tarot cards of what it looks like. Straight up. Father is the son. And the mother, now I'm not including the Fool here because I don't think the Fool represents the mother as good as the Ace of Wands. So there is one spread through the tarot where the Fool is only used once in the 0 position, which means the Ace of Wands becomes card number 22, right after the World card. And this is a very big card. This, you can see that this hand is holding a wand, which this is the Hollywood. Hollywood is abracadabra. You women form the Hollywood. You make the movie. You make the picture. See, if there is no woman, there is no life. There is no human beings. You can God can make 1 million men, but that's it. You can't do anything else. God would have to continue to make the people. You need a woman to continue the offspring. And you women get to create the movie in a big way. You have the Hollywood. Abracadabra. Abracadabra. Ra. The law of one. Abracadabra. This is the Hollywood card. This can be card number 22. So you women, with the sun, with light, you get to form humanity and you get to pump out the child. And this is where the fun comes in, right? Because this is why I've been saying that you got to be the best little devil you can be, okay? Because this is what we are. We are sinners. This is what we do to create contrast in this reality. The devil just simply means desire. That's it. What do you desire? So essentially, we're all little devils. If you remove the ridiculousness of the church and just say, okay, what does it mean to have an ego? That's your devil. What do you desire? That's your devil. Essentially, God is the devil because God has desires. Its desires are different than ours, but it has a desire. That's why God and the devil are one in the same. Okay? Good cop, bad cop, needed for the contrast in this reality. utilizing the mother, the abracadabra. Okay? So then when we do the numbers of all three, the father, the mother, and the child, using the trusty calculator, you get the number 56, and just like that, we now have the movie. Big shout out to Roland, fellow decoder, brought this to my attention years ago, and it's been a huge staple in my decoding tools. Lights, camera, action. You can see lights is tied to the father. Lights, the father, the son. Action's the world card. And the tower is tied to the camera, which is tied to Sirius. Sirius being number 16. That's for a different story. And then we have spirit into matter also. See, father, mother, child, spirit into matter, 56. This is why in the world of football, not American, European, the most popular sport in the world is soccer. What does a soccer ball have on it? The 5 and the 6. It has the 5 of pentagram and the 6 of the hexagon. The most popular sport in the world, 56. Not by accident. Broke that down as well. And then last but not least, if you're a fan of the Law 1, you get Ra. Ra and the Law of 1, 56. See, the father uses the child. Remember what the 17 was? The son. You become the one. You become the star. You become the star of the show, and now it's the law of you. It's you against you, against you, against you. There is no competition. But of course, to keep things interesting, there is a ton of competition. But it is the law of 1, the 56. Lights, camera, action, spirit into matter. All of these are. Speed of light is 56. Very, very big markers. Then when we say 5 and 6 through the Greek, since this is from the origination of the Greek, you get the number 38. The 3 is a broken 8. The 3 is a broken 8 through those shapes. Remember what the 8 is? The infinity symbol. Well, the infinity gets broken and it moves into the 3. And here's your 3 right here. Okay? And now you have creation. Creation with power. That's what 38 means. Creation through power. The Empress and the Strength card. Creation through your animal instincts. Father, mother, child. Children of God. Okay? When you bring the tarot into this can be card number 38. And it's the 3 of Cups. And how many people are here? 1, 2, 3. 3. Celebration. This is the card of reincarnation as well, which I covered in other decodes of mine. I can't even remember. I have so many of them. So now what we're going to do is we're going to break this down through the cards of illumination. The father, the mother, and the child. Father and mother. We already did the father, the 6 of clubs, card 19. Remember, the last day of creation is 6. 6 is the first perfect number. And now you get the mother and the mirror of the 6. And now you have the yin yang. How about that? You have the yin freaking yang right here for the father and mother. Of course you do. You can't have the yang without the yin, and you can't have the yin without the yang. Okay? You can't have one without the other. How big the 69/96 is. And then we get the child, which is going to be the 2 of clubs, card 15. And now we need the picture of that, okay, which we're going to get right here. The picture of it to give you the father, mother, and child through the cards of illumination. The father is victory, 6 of wands. The 9 is the wounded warrior. And I want you to really think about this card right here representing the mother and Mother Earth and the black sun. You see, where all the energy lies is Earth. And is the energy trapped here? Is the energy not allowed to escape and leave? Does it get just transformed? Well, there's a lot of shows and there's a lot of this and a lot of that saying that's the case, that we never get out of this reality. You just transform into something else. So the energy becomes very thick. The energy becomes very wise. That's what this card means. It's the wounded warrior, but it is the smart wounded warrior because it's been through all the battles. It's been through all the timelines. The mother, Gaia, has been through all the timelines again and again and again, and the mother's still standing. The 9. The 9 is endings and completions. And keep in mind that Diabolos in Greek reduces down to the number 9. That's because it's tied to the black sun, which is Earth. as well as the sun. Diabolos, the sun and the other sun. And then you get the child and the two of clubs representing the two of wands, and you see this is you as a child of time, as a children of God. You become this person, which is choices. This is the card of the futurist. A big card tie into this right here is, what's his name from Tesla? His birth card is the two of wands. You know who I'm talking about. Can't even think of his name while I'm getting. Also, Philip K. Dick, the big cyberpunk era, two of wands. Okay? Two of wands, the child of time. And they're all wands. All of them, the clubs, okay? Which represent the starting point of the mind. These are mind cards, okay? Mind cards. So now what we're going to, then I want to come back up here and I want to talk about the numerology of those three cards. 6 clubs, 9 of clubs, 2 of clubs. We get the 138 and we bring alchemy to bridge it. We get barium, and barium being the 56. We go back to that lights, camera, action. See how all this is just so beautifully connected? And barium is tied to the Ka and the Ba and the Ra, which I covered in other decodes. The Ka and the Ba. And it needs the Ra for this whole thing to play out. Ra, Ka, and Ba. Now you get into ancient Egypt, which is where the Bible came from if you're a fan of theology. It's a regurgitation from the Egyptian book of life. That's all it is. So let's reduce these down. Father, mother, and child. 1, 4, 6. 1, 4, 6. And this is what it looks like. So let me narrate this for you. And I'm going to bring astrology, the tarot, and alchemy, and numerology and tie them all together. So let's start with the father. The father being reduced down to the number 1. The law of 1. Ra. Tied to Ra, right? It's hydrogen. Tied to the sun. The house. The sun. In the first house of astrology, it's Aries and Mars. Why does the father get Aries and Mars? And why do I have the sun here? Well, because in your first house of astrology is your rising sign. And what is the rising sign tied to? The rising of the sun. The sun, when it rises or comes, if you're a flat earther, it comes towards you. Though when the sun first, you see the rays of the sun break the darkness, that is when the sun wants to play. It wants to play. Now it wants to play. Now the sun's like, there's no more darkness. I'm coming to play. And now the day starts to move and shape and take form. And now all the nocturnal animals go away. And all the ones that come out during the day come out. And now the age shifts through that day. The sun does that. The life giver. Tied to the father. The first house of astrology being tied to the rising of the sun is Aries the ram. The Lamb of God. And the ruler of the first house of astrology is Mars. Mars represents testosterone, the father. It represents your drive, your desires. If you look to where your Mars is at, if you're female and you're looking for a dude, you look where your Mars position is, because that's what you're interested in. Somebody who has their Mars in a certain position is what you're attracted to. And then you get into a lot of other layers as well. If you're a male, you want to look, where's your Venus at? Okay. Anyway, the Mars position's tied to the magician. This is a Mars card. Of course it is. Because the magician, which is you're the wizard in your first house, is your identification. The rising position in your first house is a big layer to the father. The father and your identification and what you came here to do and what people mostly view you as. Your masculine side. The feminine side is tied to the mother, of course, which is tied to Cancer. I think, I had this card drawn up. I think, it's the Emperor, but the Emperor really, to me, should be feminine because of it's female. I think this should be a female card. If I were to create these cards, the fourth card would not be masculine. I would change this because it represents the mother. Because 4 is green in the chakras, which is the main color of Earth besides blue. It's the element beryllium, and it's ruled by the moon and Cancer. Well, why is the moon feminine? How about when you go on your honeymoon? What happens when you go on your honeymoon? You're all in love and you're giddy. You end up screwing and you end up maybe having a kid. And everything's great and gravy and amazing because you're both on your feminine layers of life. You're both happy. It's beautiful. You're in your virgin states in a way. Honeymoon, feminine, Cancer. Here's the breasts, Cancer. Okay? And the moon, in a lot of the esoteric, says this is the portal to get in here. Well, this would be the vagina to get into this portal. And now you have the 4 blood types, the 4 corners of the earth. So many layers to look at. 7 is the 4th prime number, 7 chakras. I could go on and on. That's the mother, the master builder. Then you get into the child. And now you get into the indigo child. Child is 15, reduced down to the number 6. The 6th chakra is indigo. And now you get into the indigo child and you get into carbon. Now we get into the little devils. That's why the 15 is the devil card. Carbon being the 666 element. And the 6th zodiac sign is Virgo the Virgin. This is where you pop out of your mother. The 6 is the first perfect number, the last day of creation, and it's a pregnant woman. The cosmic parent and the fish and Jesus. The fish is right there on the damn Virgo symbol. You can't miss it. It's right there. Okay? And Virgo is ruled by Mercury. Mercury is the way you think. Mercury is the trickster. The way you think is Mercury. The way you feel is your mother, and the way you are driven is your father. Drive, feelings, thinking. And now you get the Lover's card. And now you get the family. And you get the completion of this cycle. The children of God through the tarot, alchemy, astrology, numerology. It's very, very beautiful. It's very, very beautiful. So let's look at hydrogen, beryllium, and carbon now and tie all this together here. And we're going to do the numerology of these. And you can see how ridiculously scripted this is. This is how beautiful numerology is, especially Chaldean. I know I'm mixing the two together, but hydrogen, beryllium, carbon, 79, and the 79th element on the periodic table is gold. Gold. And these words, the game master, the father, hydrogen, the mother, 27, and birthday, 20. And birthday being tied to duality. Okay? This is tied to vampire. This is tied to currency. This is tied to religion. All the things that the mother births is tied to the diabolos in the feminine aspects of it. In the feminine aspects. But it's all based on gold. Led to gold. Father, mother, child through the aspects of alchemy. So, if you're somebody who claims to be an indigo child, now you know why. Okay? Here is the word indigo right here in the Greek, 20, which is tied to these big words right here. Indigo is 20. The indigo child is tied to carbon, is tied to duality, is tied to spirit and to matter, is tied to having a birthday. The devil's child, carbon, the 666. Okay? The indigo child. Now you can see how beautiful the Greek language really, really is. Okay? So this is kind of what it looks like here through the mathematical expressions. We become a bag of bones. Indigo is 20. Duality is 20. And we become calcium. We get calcium here. Calcium being in our bones and teeth. Okay? As an indigo child. And 71 is the 20th prime number. 71 is tied to Lucifer. Lutetium, Lucifer. Oh yeah, it's not what you think it is, but again, if you're just going to regurgitate what the church tells you and what everybody interprets in the church, well, yeah, you're going to be way far behind. But nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen, here is the total addition of these elements and their atomic weights. Hydrogen 1, beryllium 9, carbon 12. You add it up, you get the 22, and you can see it leads right back to the mother. Because you see, the father needs the mother to give birth to the child. And these three create the Trinity, which is the master builder, which ends up becoming the Titans. These three, they birth the Titans, the sons and daughters of Earth, titanium. If I go to the periodic table, and we look up at titanium, here it is. See, this is the squatter man right here. The picture, you can see the name is derived from the Titans, the sons of the earth goddess of Greek, the Titans. Okay? And there's so many clues in the melting points, and it's just insane. If you're a member of Patreon and you saw the Beast Part 2, you would know the 1670 and what it's tied to. Oops. The Titans. Okay? These three form the Titans. And titanium is tied to the number 48, which is tied to looking for love, and so many different layers here. But let's look at now, to bring another layer into this, the mainstream. How about, since these are 22, since these three add up to the 22, and the mother is 22, and the mother is needed to give birth to things. The earth, you end up parasiting off the earth. The food that you eat, you parasite. You pick, you kill, you eat. You wipe your ass with toilet paper, you're a parasite. You're using trees to wipe your ass. You're a parasite. The mother is the host, hosting you. She's hosting your life. The mother, the great giver. Okay? And it's the Titans that consume and are the parasites of the earth. We are the parasites of the earth. Okay? Let's look at the 22nd day of the year. Tied to the Titans, the sons and daughters of earth, from the father, the mother, and the child. The 22nd day on the calendar is January 22nd, but it is also March 22nd. I'm going to get into that in a second, but why I have that one. January 22nd is the 5 of Pentacles. The 5 fingers, 5 toes, 5 senses. Remember, I showed this in the beginning. This card is the contrast between your life and the savior of your life, the church. This is what this card is portraying. This represents duality. Cold, warm, or hot and cold. Okay? January 22nd is the 5 of diamonds, the 5 of pentacles. How very fitting that you become a player on the board. You essentially may be a part of this right here, this real, like tough times, hard times, my life sucks, I can't get out of a rut. And then here's the church coming to save you. There's always a savior for you because you need a savior to get you out of the rut. These are tools. But then we have March. Why do I have March here? Because, see, in the Gregorian calendar, January becomes the first month. If you remove the Gregorian calendar, you'd go to the Julian calendar. And then during the Julian calendar ages, Julius Caesar, they decided to put January and February as month number 1 and month number 2. But if you go prior to the Julian calendar, past the Julian calendar, you would know that March becomes the first month. And now this would become March 22nd. This would become 1/22, the 22nd day of the year. And of course, what's March 22nd? 3/22. What's 3/22? Skull and Bones. 3/22. What is that tied to? It's tied to the spring equinox. It's tied to tough times. It's tied to the 81 and 82. It's tied to lead. 82 is lead. Okay? The Titans are tied to lead. They're also tied to the tree of knowledge because 81 through Hebrew numerology is the tree of knowledge is 81. What is the tree of knowledge? You will positively die. You will positively die. You will reach death as a Titan of being a child born in time. Because that's what the 81, 82 means. 81 and 82 is 163. How big is that 163, ladies and gentlemen? Well, it's tied to John 3:16, and it's also tied to Revelation 3 verses 16. Being lukewarm, not wanting to play anymore. That's for a different story. That's for extended layers. Those of you who know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. Let's get to the tail end of this decode. We're going to get into the cards of illumination and the card charts, how amazing these are. These are an oracle in themselves. The child of time. I'm going to look at the grand life spread, okay, which is the ground zero for when you were born. And we're going to look at the child, the number 15. And it is the 2 of clubs, yes. So essentially, the 2 of clubs is going to be the futurist card, and it will be sitting right here in space number 10, and the word man is 10. But I want to look at space number 15, because you see it's in the Saturn line, and Saturn is father time. You're a child of time, okay? You're born at the time, and look at what card sits there. The 5 of diamonds, which is the card of yin yang, okay? This is how amazing the cards are now, synchronizing the cards. So again, January 22nd is the 5 of diamonds, okay? The 5 of diamonds is January 22nd. There it is. January 22nd. Okay, just so you know, this is the boilerplate chart. January 22nd, 5 of diamonds. And it's the 5 of pentacles. Tough times, yin yang. And there it is in space number 15 where the word child sits. Child of time. Born into the yin yang. And now it's making you choose. It's wanting you to choose. To give to the hot and cold. Well, the key here is to be lukewarm. That's for a different story. Now we move into the pre-Julian calendar. The 22nd day of the pre-Julian calendar is March 22nd, 322. And we get the Ace of Pentacles. Remember, this is tied to the word 17 in Greek, the child. 17 being 65, this is the 65th card in the deck. It's the gift of life. It's the Eucharist offering you the gift of life. Okay, and now we go back to the grand life spread, and what's sitting in the 22nd position, which is the word natural, the word organic. The mother gives birth to the child. It's the Ace of Diamonds, which is the Ace of Pentacles. The mother, the 22, remember that father, mother, and child is 22 through alchemy? Just to remind you, whoops, right here. Hydrogen, beryllium, and carbon. We're made up of these elements, folks, 22. 22nd spot, that Ace of Pentacles, the Ace of Diamonds. This is card number 27. The word mother is 27. You're born from a mother, from perhaps natural childbirth. The word organic is 22. 22 is the letter V in the English alphabet, and it's the last letter in the Hebrew alphabet. Okay, the gift. This is you as a child being born into this world. And that's why the Eucharist is this card. Because it wants you to continue in this reality. And remember that we are the Titans. Titanium being 22. The Ace of Diamonds right here, folks. This is tied to the Great Pyramid of Khufu, by the way. Tied to the Great Pyramid of Khufu. So I added up the March 22nd being day number 81 and 82 in the Gregorian. But if I go pre-Gregorian, it's going to be March 22nd. But nonetheless, if you add up 81 and 82, it gives you the 163 and how it's tied to the Christ and the gift of, and this is why I say you're all Jesus, having a Jesus Christ superstar experience. Well, what do you get when you take 31 and 35 and you add it up? You get 66, the birthplace of Bethlehem. Well, it just so happens that the proton to dysprosium is 66, and one of the atomic weights, its most abundant, is 163, which is what you're going to get from adding 81 and 82 up, which is what you get from day number 81 and 82 on March 22nd, which is, here's the gift of life. You see, you become the Christ. You become a child in time. And I'm telling you right now, these rituals that the church wants you to do is a guarantee to keep coming back for more. Keep coming back for more. Keep coming back for more. This means hard to get. And if you remember, Revelation 3 verses 16 tells you to be lukewarm so you be spit out of the game. I feel like that's the way to win the game of life, but that's for a different story. But again, what's the 322? How big is it? Why is it tied to Jesus? Well, it's also tied to Lucifer. Okay, but the sun is directly overhead the equator around the spring equinox. Usually it's March 20 or 21st, but it can extend past the 21st into the 22nd, 23rd, and then you get September being the fall equinox, and now you're going to get the 922 and 923. This is going to give you day 167, which is tied to being spit out of the mouth, but it's also going to give you the son of the morning. So now you're going to bring in Lucifer and Jesus right at the same time. The phrase son of the morning in Hebrew is this right here. And here it is in numerology, the son of the morning, which is tied to Jesus, which is tied to Lucifer. Lucifer is called the son of the morning, the light bringer. Jesus is called the son of the morning, the morning star, being born of David, the King David. Now you got to know what King David means. And the 3 of diamonds is 65. The 3 of diamonds is card 29, being tied to lukewarm, but it's tied to the 65. We already talked about how big terbium is. Right back up here. Go back up to terbium. Let's see if I can find it on the fly. Hang on. Can I get this? Yeah, terbium, right here. Terbium. Right here. Terbium. Tied to the sun. You become this. The pentacle. The one. All tied to Lucifer and Jesus, folks. It's essentially one and the same. Essentially one and the same. Because it's the rising of the sun that wants to play. I mean, this is Here's Thomas John Ellis, the actor they portrayed to play Lucifer. Here's his full birth certificate name with his mother's maiden name at the back end, 91. That's protactinium. This means the first, the one. You add up 91 and 231, the neutrons, protons, and electrons, you're going to get the 322. Thomas John Ellis, born on October 17th. 3 of clubs card. The threes, okay? Tied to Jesus, the church. And when you take the dysprosium, the 66, and you add the 163, just like I did right here for the protactinium, 66 is Bethlehem, dysprosium, the 163, you add it up, you get 229. That's a big deal. It's the 50th prime number. So I'm getting to the tail end of this, folks. We're all tied to the Christ-Lucifer energy. Light slowed down into physical matter. And the game needs players. And this is why these archetypes, religion, and all that, they all want you to pledge to do their rituals because it guarantees a reincarnation back into this reality. Most of them don't even know that that's what they're doing. 229 is the 50th prime number, and then you get into the Wizard of Oz. So when you become someone who's a follower of this character, well, you see, spirit, which is not human, it's spirit. It doesn't have a heart like you and I. So the Wizard of Oz tried its best to tell you the story, and one of the main characters was the Tin Man. And the Tin Man didn't have a heart. It was looking for its heart. And essentially, that's what we are. We are the Tin Men, the Tin Woman. We are all Jesus, looking for love, looking for a heart, looking for something to create. That's why Jesus was a carpenter, which means he's a builder. He was a builder of life, just like you are a builder of life. And it's tied to tin, the Tin Man. And you can see tin has the same first 2 letters as titanium. Tin, titanium. We are the titans of earth, the Tin Men, looking for our hearts. Okay? And we become, essentially, this is a Mars card, the Jack of Spades. Jack as in Jesus. Jack as in Jesus. This is also the card of Bitcoin, which is what the age of the Christ is all about. Follow me into the house of Aquarius. That's the crypto market. But that's for a different story. And the Knight of Swords is the Jack of Spades. This is the card of Life is But a Dream, which I covered right here. So this is what this decode said, is that we're all in a dream. This ain't even real. It's not even, this reality is a movie. But we don't portray it as a movie because you say it's real life. You're in a movie and you're being used as an actor or actress. And that's why all these layers connect. This guy who wrote, row, row, row your boat gently down a stream, merrily, 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 life is but a dream. It's tied to the Jack, the Jesus, looking for love, looking to build something as a carpenter, as a mason. Okay? So there you have it, folks. You can see all these layers. They're all fun connections through the cards, all these tools. As a child of God, the sons and daughters of earth, the mother. And you only get so much time. You only get so much time, so use it wisely. All right. Whew, all right, so let's get to some of your comments. I'm pretty hot. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you got something out of this presentation. I really do. At the top of the deck sitting on my cards was this card right here. My thing is, hold on a second. There you go. Is the Knight of Cups. You see, this is the Jesus. This is looking for love. This is how you got here. Your parents screwed. And now pops you. There's a story behind how you got here. Because this Jack, this knight, which is the prince, if you're a female, it's going to be the princess, see that cup right there? I want a baby. I want a family. I want a company. I want a Lamborghini. And it's not good enough. It's never good enough. I want more. I want more. I got 50 pairs of shoes. I need another pair. This represents desire, looking for love. That's what this card means. The Knight of Love. This card's tied right to Elvis and a lot of his songs. Elvis. I don't care if he was an implant. I don't care if you think that the guy was being mind controlled. My final answer is all of you are being mind controlled. Every single one of us. Your mind is not your own. The signals coming into your brain, that rules over you. They're coming from somewhere. They ain't coming from you. They're not coming from you. We're not creating we don't have a little machine sitting next to us and we turn it on and say, let's fire this thing up and see what kind of imagination. No, let's think. Let's stop and think. And then thoughts are going to start piling in. And the reason why children have such great imaginations is because they're not plagued with, I got to go to work. I got to feed the dog. I'm under a lot of stress, anxiety. I'm depressed. I don't feel good. This hurts. I got to take care of this. Oh, I got to take care of that. The older you are, the more responsibility, the more challenging life gets. When you're a child, you're free. You have an imagination. What do you want to be when you grow up? This is what, when I do a reading for somebody, I look at their charts and I tell, let's be a child again. Let's go back to being a child again. And what does it mean to be a child again? What does it mean to be this again? There's no getting ripped off, screwed over, cheated on. How do you get to this? Turn off your television. Stop watching the freaking news. Stop paying attention to what the church says and all this. Stop doing what this reality is trying to tell you. Just rip it apart and become somebody I'm not going to pay attention to anymore, especially your children. Your children, and I'm not even a dad. If I had kids, they're not going to school. I'll tell you that right now. Homeschool all the way. Whatever it takes. Because when they go to a school, they're being taught stuff that you wouldn't approve of. You don't know about it, though, because you can't sit there and monitor the whole thing. That's what life does, though. Life will shape and guide the reality, and it's not even people doing it. It's the consciousness of God doing it. If you want to use God, I'm just going to use it. The consciousness of God to pump it out, using mankind to create something beyond the scope of what we think, what we're doing here. Mankind is being used. We're being used as little actors and actresses, and it's not a negative thing. It's a fun thing. If you're willing to look at your life, you're going to see that I can break down any single one of you, and I promise you, I can show you that you're living in a scripted reality. Anybody. I'm confident enough, done this long enough now, not being cocky. I'm not trying to get one past you. I'm not trying to pull the wool over your eyes. I'm telling you right now, I am confident enough to pull all the tools I have to do all those tools with you. I promise you, I'll show you a scripted reality, and you're not in control of your reality. That's it. And that's nothing to get depressed about or listen, some of you incarnated to pump a kid out. Part of your job was to create an offspring. And that child, every single person I do a reading for, and they have a kid, I tell them, you may have incarnated to have a child that will grow up and save the world one day. That's pretty damn amazing. You don't know that right now. So, and if you don't have children, and you're not going to have children, that was your journey. That was your life. That was it. I see a lot of fighting in this, like, I got to have that. I got to have it. I got to have it. Well, maybe the universe is telling you, no, you're not supposed to have that. It's not your time. It's not your journey. You're not supposed to have that. You're supposed to have kids, or you're supposed to have kids, or if you're pushing and you're resisting, you're not going to make a door out of a wall. So instead of fighting your code, you understand it. And you study the hell out of especially children. You study your kids' code over and over and over and over, and you got to know what makes that kid tick. It doesn't mean you have to follow it by the book. And there's layers to it. Of course, that's the astrological map is the great beast above. So you got to know how the beast operates. Once you know how it operates, you can become good at becoming more of an observer and see how you're programmed to react. And instead of reacting, you become an observer. And one of the requisites of that is you got to shut the nonsense off on the world stage. You got to tune it out. You got to turn it off. And that's a tall order because a lot of you are and get your fix every day by watching the news, by watching the president, by watching this, by watching the medical field. And, oh, they're doing this and they're making us take this. And you're so programmed because you are not only, and you're programming it into your children. You're so deathly afraid of this. So to just say no, and that's it. Move on. Create your heaven on earth. It's really that simple. It's not that difficult. But people love their fix. They like to be involved in the up and up, the Joneses. They want to be able to watch the news and the medical this and the medical that. It's fine studying the medical stuff and becoming a better human being, but whatever they're doing on the world stage, I'm not interested in. If you're going to try to force them to it, my answer is no. Simple as that. Now you're going to say, well, there's going to be ramifications for it. Well, so be it. So be it. Then you got to make a stand, right? And that's part of your journey, part of your life lesson. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to push with this more with this. I want to keep this presentation pretty simple. I love it. This person says, tone deaf says, fact is you don't, I don't know if you're saying this to me, but you said, fact is you don't live in England. I didn't get your code. So I'm coming from a perspective of saying how I am in my perspective, what my code is and what my environment is. If you don't like your environment, change your environment. Change it. Instead of complaining about it, change it. And if your answer is, I can't change it, well, then you've already surrendered to the fact that you can't change it. Jode Star says, Logan, if Jesus was a carpenter builder, could that mean he have been a 4 clubs? It could have been. I don't know. I don't even know if the guy was even real. See, there's no way to prove Jesus was a real dude. I can prove I'm real, though, because you're looking at me right now. No way to prove Jesus was a real dude. And I can tell you Jesus is Horus. You're going to have to go all the way back to ancient Egypt, and it would probably go farther than that. These are all stories that just, oh, you like that story? Let's keep it going. Let's keep the story going. Let's keep the story going. So I don't know. I don't know. I have no clue if the guy was real. The story makes it real. That's all that matters for most people, and that's called Magic 101. That's why Jesus exists, because of magic. Magic is simply somebody saying something exists and then say, yeah, I think that exists, and now you have a self-fulfilling prophecy, and now you get the magic spells being spoken, and instantly and automatically you have this guy named Jesus, and now they're doing rituals, eating wafers and drinking blood and wine and all that kind of stuff. And what do you think happens when they do that in the church and all that stuff? You strengthen the magical spell. You strengthen the magical spell. When you do celebrate the Passover, you strengthen the magical spell. When you go hunt for Easter eggs, you strengthen the magical spell. When you go worship this, when you go do that, you strengthen the magical spell. Every time people go into church and they exercise the rituals, they strengthen the magical spell. It's just that simple. If you don't want to be part of the magic spell anymore, break yourself off from it. It's that simple. If you're going to ask me, who's Jesus? It's you. You're Jesus. And the challenge for you is to separate yourself from your ego. That's why the story in the parable, Jesus brought him to the mountains and Satan says, oh, if you bow down, I'll give you all these kingdoms. That didn't really happen. It's a story. It's an allegory. That's the ego. That's you saying, I want the Ferrari. Oh my God, if I make $1 million, I can have this, I can have that. And that's your devil. As a child of time, that's you as the devil. You're your own devil. Right here. This. Every one of you. This is the child. The devil's child. It's pure comedy. God is a stand-up comedian. Right, let me, my thing. God is a stand-up comedian. See if I can get this real quick. Let me show you this. I got this decode coming out. Exclusively will be on Patreon. You know what the joke is, ladies and gentlemen? The joke is that we're all shit. Except for you, I know. Those of you that can't hear the humor in my voice. And then you become holy shit. Holy shit. The joke. So whatever created this reality is a stand-up comedian. It has to be. Because the jokes keep coming in for me. And so many other decoders. We're shit. You're born from the dust. Where do you think shit is? Where do you think animals take a shit? Outside in the dirt. You're made from the dust and the dirt from the ground. And then you become holy shit. Because I know you think you're holy. And you got it all figured out. I get all that. I'll just give you this last piece and I'm going to end this transmission. Some bonus material. I got this decode coming out. This will be exclusively on Patreon. God is time. And just to show you how scripted of a reality we live in, folks. If you go to the 14th book of the Old Testament, it's called 2 Chronicles. As in chronos. As in chronographic watches. It's the 14th book of the Bible, which just kind of just mere coincidence that the word time and God are both 14. Just a mere coincidence, though. This is such a mere phenomenon here. No. We live through time. We are children of time. You only get so much of it. Okay? And we live in a scripted reality. Predestined, scripted reality. Okay? And if you're somebody who believes in theology, well, then you would have to believe in the story of Judas Iscariot. Well, you think Judas had a choice? What makes him an exception? The guy had no choice but to deceive. No choice. So if he didn't have a choice, what makes you think you have a choice? You don't. If you have kids, it was part of your screenplay. If you don't have kids, it's part of your screenplay. That's it. That's as simple as I can put it for you. And I have 500 videos to support that we live in a scripted, predestined reality, and we're just all along for the ride. And the journey of this life is all that matters. And figuring out what your script is as a child of time, as a child of God, is all that matters. Figuring out what the hell you're doing here, what makes you tick. That's where it's at. We're moving to the age of Aquarius, which is, I know thyself. See, the age of Pisces was, let's just be dumb and let the church tell you how you are. Okay. And everybody just did all that. Just get in line, and that was what the age called for. Well, we're not living in that age anymore. We're now living into an age where it's, I know thyself. That's why these tarot readers, it's blowing up on the internet because people want to know what makes them tick. They're seeing how this reality operates and works. And the age of Aquarius is the age of the Christ. Jesus says, follow me into the house with a man bearing a pitcher of water. That is Aquarius. That is Luke 22 verses 10. And that simply tells you to follow that energy into Aquarius so it has a life to live because it needs to live out its life, the archetype, so that it doesn't die, and it needs you to believe in it in order to continue. And of course, one of the big caveats, most people don't look like it, is that they wait for the Savior, so they don't pay attention to creating their own lives. They're so fixated on living in fear, because if you believe in that, you have to have this, and in order to have this, you have to have that. That means if you have the church, you have the devil, and you're so deathly afraid of the devil, or you're so deathly afraid of hell, or you're so deathly afraid of getting it wrong, that you live in fear, you live in contraction, and you never explode and expand and be the star of the show. Once you alleviate the burden of that and teach your kids to alleviate the burden of that, they are free. There's no more shackles. There's no more prison sentences. You're not chained to a wall. You're free to do what you need to do. It doesn't mean go be a knucklehead and be a bad person. No, continue on having your high ethics and morals, going with your code, but being that child of God, being that child of time. Remember, God is everything. God is the good, the bad, and the ugly. Two sides of the same coin. They're both necessary for each other. We're just at that age where everything seems to be dystopian and bad. And you're talking about the end of an age. What happens when somebody's at the end of their life? Maybe they're stage 4 cancer. Their body's infiltrated with darkness. That's exactly what this earth seemingly looks like at this point. But we're moving into a stage of cleaning the house and getting ready for the birth of a new child. And that birthing of a new child means that you get a clean slate. So it seems. I can't say that's going to be a fact, 1 + 1 = 2, but that so seemingly looks like the great story. But ladies and gentlemen, as somebody who's a fan of life, disassociate yourself from your cancers in life. Disassociate your children from their cancers in life. Have them focus on their imaginations, what they want to do based upon their code. It's a beautiful way to look at life instead of being like, I'm going to wait until they make their move and then I'm going to make my move. No, I'm going to make my move and I'm not even going to pay attention to their move. That's how I live my life. That's it. That's how I live my life. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, that's all I got. That was my presentation. I got so much more, but I'm going to end this transmission. I really, honestly, I appreciate each and every one of you for coming on here, being part of this Decode Your Reality family. If you're not a member of the Patreon, please head over there, become a member. You could become a member for free. You don't have to become a paid member. Most of my content is going to be put out on the Patreon. There is a lot of material that is part of the paid community, but there are some material that I put out there where it's absolutely free to look at the material and what's about to come. The YouTube channel is slowly being all moved on to Patreon because I'm trying to really build this tightly niche and to keep this whole thing going. This is what my life is consumed by, is making people better by realizing that you live inside of a reality that's not your own. It is already written for you, and now finding the script is the most important part for all of you. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate each and every one of you. That's all I got for today. Let me see what I want to play here. Yeah, let's do this song right here. Let's do a cover song of one of the greatest Rolling Stone songs ever. I really want you to take this one to heart. This song. Okay? This song right here is, you can't always get what you want. You get what you need. That's right. Because it's predestination. Okay? So ladies and gentlemen, that's all I got for today. My name is Logan for Decode Your Reality. Until next time, we will. See you later.
I saw her today at the reception, a glass of wine in her hands. I knew she was gonna meet her connection. At her feet was a footloose man. Now you can't always get what you want. You can't always get what you want. You can't always get what you want. But if you try sometimes, you might find you get what you need. I went down to the demonstration to get my fair share of abuse, singing we're gonna vent our frustration. If we don't, we're gonna blow a 50 amp fuse. And now you can't always get what you want. You can't always get what you want. You can't always get what you want. But if you try sometimes, you just might find you get what you need. I went down to the Chelsea drugstore to get your prescription filled. I was standing in line with Mr. Jimmy, and man, did he look pretty ill. We decided that we would have a soda, my favorite flavor, cherry red. I sung my song to Mr. Jimmy, and he said one word to me, and that was dead. Yeah, now you can't always get what you want. You can't always get what you want. You can't always get what you want. But if you try sometimes, you just might find you get what you need. Now you can't always get what you want. You can't always get what you want. You can't always get what you want. But if you try sometimes, you just might find you get what you need. But if you try sometimes, you just might find you get what you need. But if you try sometimes, you just might find you get what you need.